Hey everyone, welcome to Arcade Labs. Today we're going to investigate and hopefully fix a problem with the Tempest game. About a month ago it failed to power up, and currently all we have is the marquee light working and the coin door lights. The game does not play blind, and so that probably means we're looking at a problem with the power supply or an issue with the main boards. Let's get into it. All right, I've got the game pulled out, so let's go ahead and take off the back. So inside of Tempest, like most Atari games, at the bottom here we've got the power transformer and some fuses. Above that we have the AR2 power board, and it also does the audio for the game. Over here is the main boards, and up above is the monitor. All right, the first thing we're going to check is that these fuses down here next to the transformer are good. We've got the multimeter set to continuity mode, so we're going to go ahead and test each one of these one at a time. That one's good, good. All right, so all the fuses are good. One thing I did just notice is that this big capacitor right here, which is commonly referred to as a big blue, looks like an original. So this is a 27,000 microfarad capacitor, and this is something that commonly goes out, especially after 40 years. It might not be the problem right now, but I think that's something we'll go ahead and swap out. All right, next we're going to check the voltages on the AR2 power board up here. The way we do that, we're going to set the multimeter to volts DC, and we'll connect up the ground to this ground test point here. And then we'll check all the different test points. So here we have, this should be 22 volts DC, and it looks like we're at 23.5, so that's a little bit high, but probably within range. Over here we've got 23.3 volts, so that's okay. Up here we should have 5 volts DC. That one's pretty close, 5.1. And here's our 12 volt, so that's almost exactly right. So that's all good. Over here, we've got a couple more test points. There we've got 10 volts DC. And what is this one? Okay, there's a 5 volt. So I think we're looking good in terms of power there. All right, since we've verified that we've got power from the AR2 board, we're going to move on to the main board here. And one thing I noticed right off is that this LED right here is not turned on, and that usually indicates that the board has power. But we'll test this. Let's hook up to the ground test point, and up here we've got the 5 volt test point. So I'm basically getting almost no voltage, so we're not getting power to the main board for some reason. Let's leave that on there. The other problem could be something with the wiring harness. If we move this around, oh, okay, so I just moved this top connector slightly, and now we've got a light on here. This LED is turned on, so that tells me that we've got power now to the main board. So the game is working again. We have power. So the question is, okay, that beeping, I have to see what that was. It sounds like something might have gone wrong there. So what this means is we've got a problem with this connector. Let's go ahead and turn off the power, and let's pull this connector off. Take a look at what we have here. looks a little bit almost burnt there. Not sure what's happening. We got some heat on the board too, which is not a good sign. Actually. All right, we've got a trace on the back side of this board that is coming off, so this is definitely the problem. Let's go ahead and take this off and this off. And I just noticed that these boards are held in with a nail. That's interesting. Don't think I've seen that before. Let's go ahead and slide this out, and we'll slide these boards right out of here. All right, we have the board on the bench now, so let's take a closer look at this edge connector. When I was taking the board out of the game, I could feel quite a bit of heat right up in this area, and I can see that the second pin here looks like it's a bit scorched, so I think we've had some heat and burning going on there. On the opposite side of the board, I noticed that there's even more, so I think this is the problem area. The rest of this edge connector actually looks pretty good. So next I think we'll separate these two boards and take a look at the other side. All right, so we've got the main board here, and there's also a secondary board. So now we have the main board separated, and so this is the edge connector we're concerned with. And if we turn this over and we look here, we can see that this is definitely burnt, and we have the the traces coming off of the board. So we're going to have to replace that. So here's the back side of the board, and our edge contact we can see here is fairly scorched, and the contact trace is actually lifted off of the board. Let's see if we can see this better on the microscope. Yeah, so here we go. You can see right here, this is lifted off the board, so we're going to need to clean this up and then actually replace this with a new piece of contact. I think I'm going to pull back this trace, this contact, a bit, because we're going to be installing a new one on here. Yeah, that's pretty burnt underneath. First step is I'm going to hit it with some 400 grit sandpaper to try to clean this off. And we don't want to damage the contacts around it. All right, that's cleaning up pretty well. I'm going to also use, this is a fiberglass pen, and so this is used for stuff like this. It's very delicate, but we can do kind of the next level cleaning on here. So that's looking pretty good. This board is pretty burnt under here. I think I'll put a little isopropyl alcohol on there too, just to try to get that cleaned off. All right, so that looks reasonably good. We'll be cutting off this little piece here. I could probably just wiggle it. There we go. So now we've got a nice, relatively clean area under the contact where we can apply the next one. Let's turn this over and take a look at the other side. So here we've got the other side of this contact. This side actually looks fairly good. It's a little bit scorched, but I think this side is probably going to be fine. Before we fix the edge contact, I'm going to take a minute to just clean all of these other contacts. hit it with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Yeah, we've still got quite a bit of dirt coming off this. Okay, let's turn this thing over. I'm going to go through and just clean all these other ones. Once again, I'm using the fiberglass pen. I'm going to use some copper tape to replace the edge contact that we removed. I'll start by cutting off a piece of the tape. And then, so here we have the copper films on the top, and we have an adhesive on the bottom. First thing we need to do is cut it down to size. So I'm just going to carefully, with the X-Acto knife, cut this to about the width that we need. All right. So here is our piece. All right, let's just spot check this and see if it's about the right width. I think that looks good. The next part, probably is the most difficult, is getting this backing off of. There we go. All right, so there is our little piece of copper tape. So this is intentionally long on this side. We'll be cutting that down. Get that on there real well. And then let's turn this over. And we will fold, even though this trace on this side is good, we're going to wrap this all the way around because this will make it much stronger for taking the edge connector on and off. So we want to make sure this is really on there good. Here now we're going to trim this back because we're going to actually solder this to the board or to the existing contacts. Let's get this off now. Okay. Looks good on that side. Let's go ahead and just check for conductivity. So I'm going to see if we've got power between the foil and here. So that's good. And let's turn it over. Okay, that is good. What I'm going to do now is put a layer of solder over the copper, and by tinning the copper it'll protect it in the future from oxidizing, and it probably will create a better contact with the edge connector. Okay. Now we'll do the other side. All right, let's put the boards back into the cabinet. All right, next we're going to power up and see if we get the correct voltage to the main board here. First, I'm going to connect the multimeter here so we can measure the voltage. All right, powering up. All right, this is a good sign. We've got the power LED here. This tells us that the 5 volts is working. And let's take a look at the multimeter. All right, this looks pretty good. We've got 4.98 volts, which is almost perfect. All right, we've verified that the main board has power, so let's go and take a look at the front of the game and see how it looks. All right, looks like we're back in business here. All right, that turned out to be a fairly simple repair. One thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is why it happened in the first place. After we repaired the board and put it back in, we saw that the voltage on the board was almost exactly 5 volts, so that's almost perfect. But it's possible sometime in the past that we were getting too much voltage to this board and it caused that problem. It could also have been caused possibly by insufficient grounding between the different components here. So that's something I'll look at. But as a follow-up, there's a few more repairs I'm going to make to this game to ensure that it keeps working in the future. One of them is to replace this big blue capacitor. And also I'm going to rebuild this AR2 board. And that'll involve replacing all the capacitors on this board. And that'll help things keep running smoothly in the future. All right, everyone, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you at the next one.